Yes, Columbus. An Experience Columbus podcast keeps you in the know of what's happening in the Arch City. Columbus, the #1 soccer team, the #3 beer city, a top 10 culinary destination with the largest concentration of fashion professionals in the U.S. Join us each week with special guests for an inside look at a destination that invites visitors and locals alike to explore. By the end of each episode, you'll be asking yourself, can all of this really exist in one city? Yes, Columbus. Hello and welcome back to another episode here of Yes, Columbus, an Experience Columbus podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Boxer, along with Miss Sarah, who is back with us and our special guest today.
Hi, Boxer.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
It's great to be back. Each episode gives us more reasons to fall in love with Columbus all over again. From inspiring leaders to one-of-a-kind destinations, this city never stops impressing. Before we dive into today's interview, it's time for our headliner segment, where we highlight a recent story or accolade about Columbus. The Columbus Zoo and Aquarium roared ahead of the pack and was voted a top 3 zoo in the country by USA Today's 10 Best and has been named the best in the state. Serving as home to more than 600 animals, species from around the world, the zoo is a great destination for families and one of the most visited places in the city every year.
Not surprised at all. You know, when I arrived here in 99, that was it. And I didn't know anyone, by the way. I'm not from here. That was the first place I went because I grew up loving Jack Hanna. And I thought, well, I need to go to this zoo, the zoo that, you know, he changed and transformed. And I spent many days, I don't know what that says about me, many days alone there. But again, I didn't know anyone. I wasn't married. I didn't have a girlfriend. But there's something just very special about the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium in my heart, too, always. And I'm not alone.
No, absolutely. It's an amazing place.
Oh, well, look, speaking, and can I just also add that I'm convinced USA Today loves us. They love, I mean, if you think about all the different things they've ranked in Columbus, one of their top 10s. I mean, think about it. The zoo, COSI. I mean, I could go on and on.
Our river walk.
Yes, exactly.
Food adventures, arts festivals, all kinds of
thank
things.
you.
We're a great city.
Yes, we are. I mean, I'm not surprised, but thank you for the accolades, USA Today. Well, look, speaking of the Columbus Zoo, it is now time for our Behind the Buzz segment. Today, we are so thrilled to welcome Tom Schmid, who's the president and CEO of the Columbus Zoo. Tom's background is amazing. He brings decades of experience in conservation and leadership. And under his guidance, the zoo is taking bold steps into the future. And I've heard this about Tom from some of his colleagues, that he is a go-getter and he's got these just very big imaginations and goals that he wants. And along with that, well, having the zoo make a global impact too. Tom, welcome to Yes, Columbus. We're really excited to have you here.
Well, so happy to be here with both of you.
Yeah. So, Tom, you know, the Columbus Zoo is prepping to unveil the highly anticipated North America Trek. From what I've seen so far in pictures, it's stunning, this immersive new region. It's opening in late June, phase 1 of this multi-year project. It's going to feature modern habitats for black bears, Mexican wolves, North American river otters, bald eagles, for example. I want to hear more about this. But first, can we hear more about you and your career? How did you get to where you are now?
Boy, that's how much time do we have? So that's a great question. Well, I'll give you sort of the short summary. So I grew up in South Florida, spent really kind of the formative years swimming in the rivers and the Gulf of Mexico, sailing, diving, skiing, anything you could imagine that had to do with water. That's kind of what we did. And so I think that's probably why I became a marine biologist. And so that's what I studied in college, went to graduate school, and then actually got recruited by SeaWorld to help manage their shark collection and do some research there. And that was a pretty big career path pivot, because my plan was to go on and get a PhD, be a marine biologist, study sharks, and go teach at a university and maybe come to Ohio State. But that really opened my eyes to an entirely new field, and it was about exhibit development and public education and the attraction business. And so I really enjoyed that. So I ended up staying there for about 6 years, and then took a position to help start up a new entity in Norfolk, Virginia called the National Maritime Center, Nauticus, which was really interesting at the time. It was kind of a hybrid science center, history museum, aquarium, and naval history museum. So got that open, got that up and running, but still sort of felt this yearning for marine biology, and then was recruited to help lead the Texas State Aquarium, which I spent about 20 years there. And then lo and behold, got a call from a recruiter about 4 years ago that Columbus Zoo was having some challenges, and they needed some new leadership. And the more I'd always known about Columbus Zoo, my whole history, it's well regarded, as you can imagine, in the zoological community nationwide, even globally. And I thought, they've really stubbed their toe, but fundamentally, I think this is an extraordinarily asset-heavy institution with the zoo and the wilds. Very few large zoos have a 10,000-acre wildlife conservation center, and in addition, a water park and a golf course to help drive revenue and visitation. So just looking at the foundation here, looking at what I knew about the Columbus Zoo, I knew it was going to be some work to help right the ship, but ultimately this was a great institution that just needed some new leadership. And so here I am.
Tom, we're talking to Tom Schmid, who's the president and CEO of the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. Before you got here, like me, I knew the Columbus Zoo. I thought, oh, Jack Hanna. Was there, not that there was any intimidation, but was there any thought of, oh wow, this is the zoo where Jack Hanna was at?
No, I actually saw that as a huge advantage. I mean, he created a national brand, and arguably in some cases an international brand. Mm-hmm. And so again, that foundation that was laid when he arrived in the late 70s and continued really well until, his 40-year career. And then with Jerry Bourne as his kind of second right-hand man for so long, they were a really dynamic team. And so, no, I just looked at that as it was an honor to kind of essentially take over the institution.
That's amazing. So the Columbus Zoo has long been a beloved institution here, but there's so much more to it than what guests see in a single visit. Now, with you having been here for 4 years, as you shared, under your leadership, how would you describe the zoo's mission today?
Well, I can describe it in 4 words: empowering people and saving wildlife. And so that we went through a strategic planning exercise after I started, and we really, I thought it was important to get everyone aligned, staff, board, docents, everyone marching in the same direction, and really that the animals in our care, the animals in the wild that we want to help preserve and protect, that's our North Star. I mean, that had to be the decision driver behind everything we do. So that was first and foremost our first strategy. How do we really scale our efforts in wildlife conservation around the world as well as here in Ohio? That really led to a lot of the developments that you're seeing over the last several years, including how we've expanded North America Trek, how we've really making more impactful conservation work, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of those projects later. But I think it was a pivot that everyone just got behind and was focused on and could really understand. This is what it means to be the Columbus Zoo. We talked about our rankings, and those are great. We love them, but I really want our community to think of us not just the best zoo in the country, but one of the most impactful wildlife conservation organizations.
Yeah. Tom, when I think of conservation and I think of when I think of the zoo, I don't think anyone does it better as far as educating patrons that are coming in, what you're doing, not just locally in Central Ohio, but really around the globe. And I think of staple events that help fund some of those efforts. When you think about those efforts, what kind of things are you doing exactly? How do you contribute to those wildlife efforts?
Yeah, so there's a multitude of ways we do that, and part of that, as you alluded to, we're getting much more intentional about telling the story around the zoo. So the average guest may not. I'm sure they've noticed it. We've added dozens and dozens of interpretive signage and didactic graphics in the zoo that really talk more about the mission work of the zoo with the tagline of empowering people and saving wildlife. So that's been an important piece. Certainly our conservation education team is talking more about that. Our docents are talking more about that. But I think as importantly, you talked about how do we fund it. In addition to those events and through a variety of other methods, every dollar, or we take $1 from every zoo admission. We take $5, I think, from every membership. You play a round of golf, a portion of that money goes to the conservation fund. You go to Zambezi Bay, a portion of that goes to the conservation fund. So think about a family coming to the zoo. They have a great experience. They're probably going to learn something because it's really educational, but they're having a great time. But just the fact that they visited and they bought a ticket that day, they're helping save animals from extinction. And so getting that message out over and over again to all of our guests that just by visiting the zoo or the wilds or playing around a golf at safari, you're saving animals from extinction. That really, I think, drives our mission home.
It's amazing.
So let's talk innovation. What's something coming up that you're especially excited about, whether it's a new exhibit, technological advancement, or a behind-the-scenes change?
Wow, there's a lot. I think you're going to see some really interesting things with North America Trek. I think about how that region has evolved. So that was one of the first areas that Jack renovated back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Wow.
And it was remarkable back then. But you can imagine now, 40 years later, it was one of the oldest regions of the zoo. So I think taking all of our guests on this journey to essentially experience some of the major national parks around the country in one location in Powell, in Columbus, I think is going to be pretty remarkable. So I think how guests are how they're able to see the animals even behind the scenes. We've got some amazing new opportunities for folks to do that. The Ohio Center for Wildlife Conservation. So we repurposed one of our existing buildings and turned it into an interpretive center for all the conservation work we do. So for the first time, we're telling that story in a really comprehensive way at the zoo, not only with really amazing graphics, but actually showing how we culture hellbenders, one of the largest amphibians in North America, and how we're reintroducing those back into rivers in Ohio, plains garter snakes, burying beetles, all these projects that we do here in Ohio that a lot of folks might not know about. That's going to be front and center in the new in the new Ohio Center for Wildlife Conservation, which is embedded within the North America Trek region.
Tom, a selfish question, only because myself and my children, and I used to raise them, but are you keeping the barn and the goats there?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just want
Oh, yeah.
I just
Don't
wanted
lose the goats.
Yeah. No, they are hugely popular. You bet.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Along with this, can you tell us, you touched on it obviously already, but with the North America Trek, this is just going to be so cool. By the way, do you have a specific date yet, or are we just saying the end of June at this point? Do we know?
Yeah,
it'll
be end of June.
Okay,
we're gonna nail that down. We actually had a meeting yesterday, really talking about specifically. So yeah, construction was really challenging.
Sure,
for our teams.
Yeah,
you guys know how wet this past 3 or 4 months were.
Oh yeah.
And so looking at what we have to get done, how do we sequence allowing these animals to spend time in their new homes? How do we pulse people in to make sure that we don't want to just open it and have 5,000 people come through the first day? So a lot of careful thought, and actually careful thought went into it beforehand, but the more we looked at it, the more we realized we think this could compromise animal well-being. So that's when we drew that line in the sand and said, okay, we're gonna stand down. We're gonna look at a new schedule. So
when it comes to construction, just out of curiosity, do you need a special construction company that specializes in zoos?
Yeah.
And I know it's not an amusement park, but maybe someone that has dealt with that type of business.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is very specialized. It's complex. Essentially, you're creating living ecosystems for these animals. You're creating spaces for our staff and our veterinarians to be able to work. So there's only really a handful of companies in the world that can do the kind of work that we're doing. And Pepper Construction, they're based in Chicago, but they have an office here. They've been exceptional to work with. And I think it's the skill set's important, but it's also understanding that we're a team. Our North America Trek team are on site almost every day. They're checking things. They're working with the Pepper team to make sure that no detail has been overlooked. And it's a pretty unified team that kind of has brought us to this point. And that started with conceptual design through schematic design, development, construction, the whole process. And so, yeah, it's really specialized construction, and they've done a great job.
Tom, what kind of takeaways are you wanting the guests to have when they experience this new North America Trek?
Well, I think they're going to really enjoy the space. I think they're going to enjoy the aesthetic. It's a little bit different than maybe we've done before. It's a little bit more modern, although it does hark to the great national parks around the country. one of the things that they probably won't see, but that's equally important, is the thought that went into the behind-the-scenes spaces for both our teams and our animals, and that's critical. I think the Columbus Zoo has always done a great job of creating habitats for our animals, but making sure that where they spend their time at night, where they spend their time in the wintertime, is just as good and just as satisfying and enriching as the summer habitat. That's critical. So a lot of thought and effort went to those behind-the-scenes areas that most guests probably will never see, but I hope they understand that those are great spaces for both of our staff to work and the animals to live.
How long has it taken the team, along with Pepper, to bring this exhibit to life?
So let's see. So we started design work in 22,
okay,
and started construction in late 23. So it's been almost a 3-year process.
Wow,
Yeah.
and it's almost here. We're
almost
so
here.
excited.
Yeah,
Just
weeks
a few more
away.
weeks.
So.
But the zoo is not just about exhibits. I know, obviously, you offer seasonal events, hands-on education. How do some of those experiences really help connect the community with the wildlife conservation work that you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's a chance for folks to come in and maybe see things in a little bit different light. So we have a big Earth Day celebration. We bring in different partners. We talk about different programming, different organizations, what they're doing in the community. So it's a great way to showcase programming well beyond what the Columbus Zoo does. And that's really, I mean, we understand first and foremost, we're a wildlife conservation organization, we're a zoo, but we're also a community asset. We're a community center. We convene people. And so I think that's always something that we take a lot of pride in, being able to bring families in. And then I think about all the things that we do with students, our Teen Eco Summit, workforce development. You wouldn't normally think about that as a function of a zoo, but we do a lot of workforce development through STEM education, through some of the internship programs we do. We're working now with Fort Hayes to bring kids over and shadow some of our trade teams. So just lots of things to help develop that workforce and really the Columbus Zoo is a big place. 400 or 500 full-time people, 1,500 part-time people among all of our parks. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of different specialized jobs that we hire, well beyond an educator or a zookeeper. So making sure the community, making sure the kids are aware of all the different opportunities that we have for them to work in the future.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, your summer camps sell out pretty quick. The overnight camps as well, the overnight stays. You do a lot of great things for the family, Tom, you and the Columbus Zoo. Well, from flamingos to gorillas to obviously the adorable sloth, there's a few iconic animal guests that they always ask about. But are there any behind-the-scenes stories that you can share with any of those animals that we might enjoy?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Let's see, I think what's really interesting, and I didn't know about this until I got to the zoo. So if you think about the Asia Quest region, so we have our Asian elephants on one side, and then we have all the other animals on the other side. What most people don't know is there's actually a tunnel underground that connects those two habitats. And walking around in these tunnels that were built 30, 40 years ago is an interesting experience. And I can never do it alone because I know I would get lost. So I'm always with our keeper staff when we're down there. But, being able to move around to these different areas underground to access the areas, I mean, it's pretty ingenious, almost.
I was going to say,
modeled even after how Disney built some of their parks early on.
So, Tom, you've mentioned how important the zoo's role is in Columbus's future. How do you see the zoo contributing to the city's growth and identity?
Yeah, so it's interesting from a business strategy standpoint. If I had to describe the zoo, and to some extent our other parks as well today, we're largely a seasonal, regional, cultural attraction. We tend to overperform compared to our peers in terms of local visitation. If you think about the size of Columbus and our attendance, I mean, we see almost 2 million people a year at the Columbus Zoo. That's almost the same number that the Houston Zoo sees, and they have an MSA of 6 million people.
Wow.
And again, I think, why is that? Because people in Columbus really love the Columbus Zoo, and we want them to continue to love the Columbus Zoo. But we also think there's an opportunity for us to pivot that more and become a regional, Midwestern, even a national destination, a year-round destination. And so some of the things that we're looking at in the future, I think will help reinforce that. And I think because we have these assets, the golf course, the water park, an amazing zoo that probably takes 4 or 5 hours, really, if you want to see everything, I think we really have an opportunity as we broaden our reach to bring people from the East Coast all over the Midwest, really make this truly a leisure travel destination. And then if I think about, we talked earlier at the beginning of the podcast about the other amazing attractions we have here. I think Columbus punches way above its weight in terms of amazing attractions. And you start to bundle those together, you can see why and how this region could become a tourism mecca. And I know Brian Ross feels that way. I've talked to some of the other regional travel associations. Certainly the Ohio Chamber feels that way. So I think there's just a real opportunity, and we want to be part of the catalyst to really begin to transform this region. We're recognized for so many things: OSU, innovation, our great sports facility, state capital, but we absolutely have the potential to be an amazing leisure travel destination. And I think the Columbus Zoo can really be a key part of that.
I totally agree with that, Tom. You probably get asked this all the time, but maybe because I know I can, a lot of people could probably see it. A hotel. Is a hotel come up time and time again? Any interest in ever wanting to develop something like that, or something that would fit within the zoo?
Absolutely. In fact, we just completed a feasibility study for a hotel at the zoo.
Oh, great.
Wow.
So, we're still kind of in the early phases of what that might look like. We don't have a timeline, but there certainly seems to be enough demand based on what our consultants are telling us.
Sure.
And I think with some of the things that we're going to be doing in the future, that there would be a lot of synergy created to get some kind of lodging activity at the zoo. I mean, we've done that at the Wilds. It's been really successful. We have yurts, we have cabins. We're opening up our Hellbender RV park in 2 weeks, so that'll more opportunities for folks to spend the night there. And it's interesting because having lodging at a zoo in the U.S. is fairly uncommon. It's actually fairly common in European zoos.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I think
Okay.
there's something that we can learn from kind of how they've managed that program. The Taronga Zoo in Sydney, Australia has an amazing boutique hotel on their campus. They're actually a much smaller zoo than Columbus Zoo, but the net income from that hotel actually helps support all their conservation efforts. So this is, we definitely think that's an opportunity for our future.
Exactly. I was just thinking about different revenue streams like that. Oh, that would be amazing. Well, Tom, it is time. Sarah, I want to make sure you're ready for this too.
Yes, go for it.
It's time for our rapid fire questions, Columbus edition. You guys ready?
Ready.
You bet.
All right.
Tom, what's your favorite metro park to unwind in?
Oh, let's see. I'd probably have to say High Banks. Just great elevation. My wife and I love to hike it, and occasionally when I have the energy, I like to run it. So it's a great park. Great park.
I was going to say, you look like a runner, Tom. All right, Tom, where would you take a guest if they were coming to Columbus for the first time?
That's a good question.
Can't be the zoo.
I was going to say the zoo is first.
Right, sure,
After the visit to the zoo.
but that's easy.
I'd say probably a toss-up between the Short North and German Village.
Okay.
Yeah, both great places, and we just think they're very indicative of what this city's all about.
Yeah, I love both of those. Which Columbus event do you make sure to attend every year?
So we have attended the Columbus Art Festival, which is amazing. It's the biggest art festival we've ever attended. My wife and I really enjoy it, and so that's kind of one of our must-see events each year.
So, Tom, we're going to switch gears now for our last two segments. Our next one is called Columbus Classics. This podcast is all about uncovering what's new, but we also love the tried and true places and experiences. Can you tell us about a classic Columbus experience you love? It can be a neighborhood, a restaurant, anything.
So we finally had a chance to go to Hank's recently, and what a great restaurant.
Beautiful.
It's so unique. I mean, you feel like you're in Charleston, South Carolina. The food's great, the atmosphere's great, and so that's kind of one of our new favorites.
Yeah. By the way, before we get to this last segment, I have to share one quick story about Tom that I think people will love, and it just shows his character and what a good man that he is. I had interviewed Tom on the radio 3-4 different times. We've done interviews over the phone together. And for the first time, I think it was maybe last year, I finally got to meet you in person. So I was looking around, and Jane in marketing, I said, Jane, is Tom around today? Oh, yeah, he's right over there. I'm like, well, where? And here you were picking up garbage.
Oh.
And I thought, wait, him over there, is he picking up garbage? Oh, yeah, he does that all the time. And I thought, well, there's a guy who you're not above doing anything, and it just goes to show just how much you truly care about the zoo. So hats off to you.
Well, thank you for that. And I mean, that's sort of Zoo Director 101, and Jack Hanna definitely exemplified that as well.
Well, look, before we close out today's episode, we have one more segment, Tom, and that is, what are you saying yes to in Columbus this season?
So more Columbus Crew. We're super excited. Season kicked off, and that's an amazing organization. Love the Blue Jackets, but really excited about the Crew this summer.
Second guest that said Columbus Crew.
Yes, they're getting a lot of votes, and it is an amazing experience at lower.com. So, Tom, what a journey. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your passion for animals, conservation, and the Columbus community. Really appreciate you being here.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. You guys help us tell our story. We appreciate that.
And by the way, if you haven't been to the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium lately, now is the time. Plan your visit, columbuszoo.org. You can experience everything new, wild, and wonderful. Well, and for even more ways to explore Columbus, that's awesome, by the way. Check out Experience Columbus on social media and experiencecolumbus.com. Thank you again, as always, for listening to Yes Columbus, and we'll see you next time. That's a wrap on this week's episode of Yes Columbus, an Experience Columbus podcast. Tune in next week as we take you on a tour of what's new, what's hot, and what makes Columbus a city on the rise.